Those are the great words of the inimitable Keith Jackson, who would have called that had he been watching the Austrian Gran Prix last weekend at the Red Bull Ring. It was unbelievable. What an incredibly good race. Starting out with an incredible rendition of the Austrian national anthem by Hans Zimmer and crew. Just did a really neat job with it. So the whole show was really quite fun to watch. The couple of things that I noticed, Zogran, you had to start from pit road. So Logan Sargent, again, lonely in the 19 starting. First lap bump between Piastri and Leclerc. Hurt Piastri barely, crushed Leclerc's chances. Had to go in and get a nose on the first lap. He ended up having 4 stops. Interestingly enough, almost got all the way back to the point, and they had an interesting strategy going to try to get him back up there to try to at least save a point, but, however, didn't totally work out for Charles Leclerc. The DRS zone here is incredible because there's 3 of them, and as I mentioned in my preview, you come out of one, and then if you don't quite have them, if you're passing, there is the mark, and you want to kind of stay behind it even if you're going and you're late braking, because if you get around that corner and undercut, you get the DRS again going into the 3rd DRS zone, and you can get around that driver. And we saw a couple of classic passes like that and a couple of screw-ups using that same zone, where in one where Norris actually was over the line and ahead of, I don't think it was Max, it was somebody else, and then he actually, because he lost DRS, he got driven away from. So if you go back and watch that, you'll notice where I'm talking about that DRS detection zone at the end of the 2nd DRS zone going into the 3rd one. Crucial, very cool part of that racetrack, which I thought was pretty neat. By lap 5, Max had extended his lead to 2.8 seconds, thinking everything this was going to become a snoozer. And at the end of lap 7, it was Max first, Lando second, George Russell in 3rd, and then Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, and Perez. And they were your top 6 in the race going forward. After 28, Max had accumulated a 7-second lead, and then what I was looking at and enjoying was Haas having a very, very good race with both Hulkenberg and Magnussen staying in the top 10, and actually quite a bit faster than most everybody else. They were having a wonderful week going on there. It was a great race, and at lap 55 it was a great race, and there were only 16 laps left, and that's when it really, really got interesting. Okay, so by lap 59, Norris trying to get around Max, trying to get they were having just a great battle. It really started heating up, and Norris was getting track limit warnings from his pits, so he had to be very, very careful. And then lap 63 happened, and I'm going to tell you, Max did get a 10-second penalty, and it was deserved his 10-second penalty. I've got some video evidence I will show you right now. Thanks, Sky Sports, for these. So as you can see, Max has started to brake and Lando's gone left. So that tire mark, and you see Max is drifting to the left. He's changing his course. That's the penalty there. You can see where Max clearly goes to the left of the racing line to push Lando out of the way. Now here's where Lando clips his tire and pushes Max. Now Max is injured here. And watch this, as Lando goes to the inside, Max pushes him off the track. That could be another penalty right there. So in the explanation, as I said, you could see clearly where Max had made a move and then he drifted back to the left. And if you go back and look at that, you'll see there's that line where it looks like a skid mark almost, a straight line where Max kind of moved over to the left. I really thought the worst part, as I said in the description, was Max drifting over to try to run Lando off the track on the right side. He didn't want Lando to get around him to get back to the pits. Lando got a little bit hot under the collar. He hurt his floor. At one point he had just had a flat tire, and I thought he would be able to continue. But while we were watching Max get back to the pits, nobody was watching Lando, and I don't know what Lando did or didn't do, but he screwed his car up. I think the frustration got to him too. It was a great race. Those guys are friends. I hope they're still friends now. But that's auto racing, and that's the kind of racing that we'd love to see. So Silverstone's going to be really, really good. And at the end of the race, I can remember, harken back, I want to say 1986, for those of you that weren't born then. Kyle Petty, who was Richard Petty's son, was running third at Richmond. I happened to be there, and Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt were racing. And it was down to the last lap, I want to say, and Richmond's a half-mile racetrack at the time. And Waltrip and Earnhardt go into turn 3. And I want to say that Waltrip was up on the outside. Earnhardt pushed him up in the Kronhorn. They both spun into the wall. And Kyle Petty was there to pick up the pieces, as George Russell said. Picked up the pieces, and it was Kyle's first win. So, reminiscent of 1986 Richmond August race, here we have Formula One with George Russell picking up his second win by picking up the pieces. Remember, you gotta be... Remember, as I always say, you got to learn how to go fast, you got to learn how to race, and you got to learn how to win. And this is a classic example of learning how to race and learning how to win. George Russell, even in the pre-race, said he was going to probably sit back and watch the battle and see what happens. And he was right there at the end to pick up the win. So it was great. So the end of the Austrian Grand Prix was Russell, and then Piastri coming back for that first lap incident with Leclerc. Carlos Sainz in third. Lewis fourth. Max actually limped back on 3 wheels. They had such a big lead on the field. He was able to get the tire replaced and everything and come back and get 5th after receiving a 10-second penalty. He beats Hulk, who is 6th, which was a great race for him. Sergio 7th. He claims floor damage, and if you look at his car, there was damage on the side pod of his car, so that could have been it, but he should have been able to get past that Haas. Kevin Magnussen 8th. Daniel Ricciardo with another good point-scoring race there, and then Pierre Gasly in the Alpine coming in 10th for the last point. So pretty good race for the Australian Grand Prix, in my opinion, which leaves us up to this week's race, which is Silverstone. Well, what a great racetrack. Built 1942, and it was built as an RAF base, and then they converted it after the war into a racetrack, and in 1947 they ran their first race at Silverstone Racetrack. First Grand Prix was 1950. So this is a track with damn near 75 years of racing history for sure, and almost 75 years of Formula One history, which is amazing. This is also a very, very fast track, and I like this track because unlike Austria, which is a great track, love that track, it's too short. This track is a full-blown racetrack, 5.86 or 5.89 kilometers, 3.66 miles. This is a good test, a very, very quick track. Lewis Hamilton said it's like driving a fighter jet around it because there are 18 turns and it throws you around. And you have some of the most iconic turns, iconic corners in F1 with Copse, Beckett, all those. And you will see some incredibly good racing, hopefully this weekend. So, a couple other things that we're looking at as a preview to Silverstone. Oliver Berman is going to drive for Haas in FP1, so that'll be great. I think that is a precursor because I believe, again, that Berman's going to go to Haas. And the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking that maybe Valtteri Bottas should get that second Haas seat to become that mentor that Oliver Berman could use. Even though he's a Ferrari driver, you're going to have Hamilton busy trying to win a world championship. He and Leclerc are probably going to become very, very rivalry next year because both of them are going to consider themselves the top driver there. The top driver is Hamilton. He's making all the money, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so it should be a really, really good race. They're calling for some rain. Hopefully it'll be raining during qualifying. I always like it when it rains during qualifying because then you never know what can happen. And you might end up with somebody like Logan Sargent in the top 10 in qualifying, which would be awesome for him, okay, as he continues thinking about going to IndyCar because I'm pretty sure that's where he's going to be heading for next year. So who are my picks? Well, this is going to be tough because the top 3 cars are still probably Red Bull, McLaren, and has Mercedes last week I said Mercedes and Ferrari were tied, okay? But with Russell taking the win, I'm not so much worried about that. I wonder what Leclerc would have been able to do, but he ran well. I'm still going to say they're tied. So this could be a 4-car race for sure. What is the 5th fastest car? Well, I used to say it was Aston Martin, and it's not Red Bull. I don't know if Alpine has come up. Have they found something, or is it just weight reduction that is helping them? So we'll see who brings upgrades. Aston Martin needs to do something quick, because they're losing. I think Fernando Alonso, poor guy's going to be losing his sanity there. So we got to get them going again. Probably some good news, or at least some stabilizing news from Aston Martin, in that Lance Stroll has said that he's going to be there at least next year and the next. So now, again, more and more seats are being filled in. I'm pretty sure Lance will stay there for next year, and then maybe the year after that, maybe Yuki goes there. Not sure. Really not sure. Again, silly season in F1 is always fun, especially this time of year. We're just halfway through, and then we're coming up on the summer break pretty soon. So, my predictions this week: will Lando get it back? Don't know. I'm looking for maybe an English win, which would be cool. It's going to be tough for anybody to beat Max. But if anybody can beat Max, I think Carlos Sainz can beat Max in that Ferrari. So even though Lando is there, I think he might be, you know, as I mentioned, you got to learn how to race, and he is. Now, Max has always been a little bit older than Lando, and they raced in the same classes, but not at the same time. And Max obviously was well ahead of Lando talent-wise when he got to F1. So Lando's never had a car where he can now compete next to Max, and he sees how Max drives. Did he learn something? Can they race together? Can they race side by side? I think they can. I think it was an unfortunate incident. So let me just change this, okay? Lando's going to win because he's British. McLaren's going to win because it's a British car company. So it's going to be a double win for the Brits. So it's going to be Lando first, Max second, and I'm going to say Hamilton's going to get third. Because again, he's British and he is due. And then you can throw a blanket over the next 5 guys. But I would not be surprised if Haas doesn't have another good race this week with at least one car getting points. And I would not be surprised if Daniel Ricciardo doesn't get some points for the RB car either. It would also be awesome to see Zhou Guanyu or Valtteri Bottas at least get into Q2 and mix it up there in the midfield. It would be great. So there you have it, Freddy B's pathetic picks for the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. It's going to be one fun race to watch. Talk to you soon. Do me a favor, if you like what you see, hit that button to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Hit the like button too so other people could see it. We talk about Formula One during this season. We talk about football during the regular season. And every once in a while I throw my thoughts on life up on my channel. And I've got a fantastic sales training program coming your way very, very soon. So again, Freddy B, thank you. Ta-ta for now. I want to say thanks also to my good friend Kim Illman, who doesn't know me at all, but I love your hat. Thank you very much. It's kept my bald head looking great, and it keeps the sun off of me. And also I want to thank Sky F1 for letting me kind of steal their video off the TV. Hey, what are you going to do? See ya.